Hey everyone, apologies for the lack of uploads this week, it's just been a bit more hectic than I anticipated, but now I'm back. Since my last post though, we've seen quite a bit of information drop, so like usual it's time for me to bring you all my next updated Overwatch League Off-Season news video. I wanted to start off by discussing some of the bigger pieces of news from the last few days, firstly with the Dallas Fuel unveiling the signings of Fielder and Rappel. Fielder, the Ping King, had a breakout season on the Paris Eternal this year, and despite his unique circumstances, I thought he was one of Paris' most impactful and reliable performers, particularly during the run to their Summer Showdown triumph. Clearly he left a great impression on not only us watching, but also Coach Rush, and with his contract with the Eternal expiring, Dallas have not missed the opportunity to add Fielder to their exciting 2021 lineup. It would be really great to now have the Fuel help him relocate from Korea to Dallas to see him potentially unlock his full potential on heroes like Ana and Baptiste when not having to play at 200 ping. Regardless though, I think Fielder is a really strong pickup, and I'm interested to see what role he can play on this new look Dallas outfit. More surprisingly though, was the acquisition of Rappel at the same time, given the fact that like Fielder he is also a flex support player. I think many of us were expecting to see a main support be announced alongside Fielder, and although Rappel's contender's background on Element Mystic clearly played a significant part in Rush reuniting with him on the Fuel, it does pose an interesting question as to what he will bring to this squad in 2021. Both on Vancouver last season, as well as on Houston in 2020, he's performed okay, but has struggled to make a significant impact due to playing a more rotational role, rather than being consistently a full-time starter. Now on Dallas it appears he's going to be in a similar position, although I'm sure that under the coaching of Rush again, if he is to develop and really fulfill his whole potential, he's now in the best spot possible, so I am curious to see how next season pans out for him. These aggressive signings from Hasbro and Dallas appear to only further strengthen their roster ahead of next year, but as I said in warning last time, whilst the Fuel continue to add more quality pieces to their lineup, the Dallas fans in turn will continue to increase their 2021 expectations, and this is why I'd urge some cautious optimism till we actually see them play. I should also mention that Dallas made a couple of updates regarding their coaching staff, with the Fuel re-signing Yong and also bringing in Aid. Yong re-signing is hardly a shock, having previously worked with Russian Element Mystic, whilst also being the only member of the team aside from Doha who was already within the Dallas fold. Aid on the other hand marks yet another individual taking their talents from the Eternal to the Fuel. At this point it's just getting a bit comical, isn't it? At any rate, he clearly has developed a good working relationship with Rush and will likely be an excellent contributor on the Dallas Eternals coaching staff next season. As for the other Texas team, the Houston Outlaws, they made some noise earlier in the week also by tweeting out that Danteh had re-signed with the side for 2021. When I saw that Danteh's contract with Houston was expiring and he was set to become a free agent, I was initially concerned that the Outlaws had let go of their best player and were going to have to start from scratch in terms of rebuilding their roster. Now that he has re-signed though, Houston have a brilliant star DPS player who they can start to construct their 2021 roster around. Perhaps I would have liked to see Danteh move to a higher caliber squad where he could have used his talents to strengthen a more realistic title contender. That said, he's obviously a key component of the Outlaws' future plans, and his re-signing certainly signals some level of confidence in this Houston project. It's quite clear that Junkbuck and Harsha have a plan for how they want to approach next season, and whilst perhaps they haven't inspired the same amount of buzz and anticipation around their team this off-season when compared to their Texas rivals, this is certainly a solid start, and I'm interested to see what they do next. I want to now move on to one of the big stories that came out from last weekend, with the San Francisco Shock announcing on Sunday the departure of Rascal from the team. Rascal's Overwatch League journey is a fascinating tale, and his release from the Shock marks the end of a 2-year career rebound for him after an odd inaugural season on London and Dallas. As has been championed by Reinforce lately, I do think he is a player that is often underrated and forgotten about by a lot of the community, despite some of the highest level displays we've seen at the Overwatch League level on heroes like Baptiste, Echo and Mei. And although the back end of 2020 saw him benched with the meta suiting a San Francisco DPS line of Arns and Striker, I do think Rascal's departure will certainly be felt by the side moving forward. That begs the question though, as to what is next for Rascal. Some rumours have said he's considering retirement, but that hasn't been confirmed. Potentially the Shock found themselves in a position financially where they had to let him go, but it's even possible they've just given him a chance to find a more regular starting spot on a different team, while extending and focusing on their remaining 3 DPS players. In any case, I'm extremely curious to see where he ends up, as if he doesn't retire, I can imagine a lot of teams will be knocking at his door, given the quality and impact he should be able to make right from the outset in 2021. In other Shock-related news though, the team revealed 2 moves relating to their coaching staff. Firstly, that Kazors have been promoted from an analyst to an assistant coach. Having seen him progress successfully up the coaching ladder from contenders to the World Cup and now the Overwatch League, I'm very happy to see him promoted to this role within the San Francisco team for next season. Not only am I confident that he'll be able to bring a lot to the side, but I also think the experience of working alongside Krusty will be great for him also, as we've seen the Krusty tree continue to spread its sphere of influence throughout the league this off-season. Alongside Cazor's, San Francisco have also signed Agape as an assistant coach as well, just showing how they continue to foster a brilliant coaching staff despite seeing many of their former assistants move on to new challenges. Again, I think this will be a solid pickup, and I'm sure his past experience coaching the London Spitfire will be able to help improve the shock as they aim to make it a three-peat next season. It will just be interesting now to see if both him and Cazor's are staring at new coaching gigs themselves come the 2022 season, given Krusty's recent track record. In terms of other moves that have been going down, even though we already knew about a lot of the releases that were happening due to the contract status article, I've now also decided to report on the official confirmations from the teams themselves, as in certain circumstances the releases aren't all guaranteed or finalised. So going back around a week now, the New York Excelsior announced the departure of Nene, Hotba, Bianca and Who Are You, whilst Haxel announced his retirement. Haxel's retirement was very sad to see, given that I've personally been watching his career from during his Apex days. His displays on Genji and Runaway I have no doubt will be remembered very fondly by many of us, and whilst it's a real shame to lose such a great and iconic member of the competitive Overwatch scene, I wish him well for the future. As for the Excelsior player releases though, all four I still feel have futures at the Overwatch League level, and I'll be curious to see where they all end up. I say this especially for Hotba, who I think could be an interesting off-tank option for a number of teams this off-season. The fact that New York has released both of their off-tanks, however, does raise some questions, and I'll be curious to see who they pick up in Hotba and Bianca's place for 2021. The Atlanta Reign were another side to confirm the release of players. 6 in fact, which included Fire, Saucy, Erster, Pokepo, Dogman and FRD. Clearly Atlanta are, like many teams, cutting down their large roster to really focus on and develop a specific starting 6. But in terms of the future prospects for those who have been released, I think it will be a mixed bag. Erster, Pokpo and Dogman I'm sure will all receive some level of interest given the performances they've displayed in the past, and the historic connections they've made. Fire, Saucy and FRD on the other hand I'm less certain about, and whilst I think Contenders is a more likely destination for them right now, I'm interested to see where all these players eventually land. Outside of the players though, more recently the Reign revealed more releases on their coaching staff, with Mentalist and former player Kodak departing from the team. Another side that has been quite active over the past couple of days is the Philadelphia Fusion. After announcing 9K as their head coach for 2021, the team also revealed that both Moby Dick and Christopher had re-signed with the Fusion as assistant coaches for next season. Apparently both had been offered coaching opportunities elsewhere throughout the league, and the fact they have stayed on does suggest a hunger and desire to finally see Philly get over the championship hump. So whilst I can't be certain this is a good or bad move in terms of helping the Fusion improve, I can say that the mindset for 2021, at least from the coaching staff, seems to be positive and determined. I also wanted to take an opportunity to point out some interesting posts from some of the Philly players. We already know that Chipster has been fully released despite his 100% win rate, but Hisu, despite being under contract with the team, has been allowed to explore other options. At the same time, although they are free agents trying to renegotiate deals with the Fusion, Fury and Ivy have also expressed a potential availability, so I do think these are free players just to keep on the radar this off-season, as although I think they're likely to re-sign with Philadelphia, it does seem there's a chance they could move elsewhere. Heading over to the APAC region now, we've seen a little bit of activity from a few of the teams. The first I want to talk about being the Shanghai Dragons, who said heartfelt farewells to Ding, Diem, Dia, Geggery and Luffy. Many of these releases weren't a big surprise, but were certainly emotional to a lot of Shanghai fans, given that most of these players were key contributors to their 2019 Stage 3 triumph. I also want to add that in terms of the team announcement, I think this was one of the best we've seen so far this off-season, and I really commend the tweets that the Dragons social media sent out. As for what the future holds for these players, DM and Dia are certainly a couple I expect to receive a few offers, knowing their quality and potential. For Ding, Geggery and Luffy on the other hand, it's harder to say. I'd love to see them make 2020 rosters, but having not played for a year, I'm not sure what their demand will be. But they're all players I want to keep an eye on, and in any case, the history they achieved with Shanghai is something I know won't soon be forgotten. Another Chinese team that has made an announcement is the Guangzhou Charge, who unveiled Arachne as their new head coach. With his successful coaching history on both talent and more recently as an assistant on San Francisco, on paper this looks like a great signing for the Charge. With some of the rumours going around about their roster though, I am interested to see what he does with the team, and whether Guangzhou can improve from a solid contender last season to a more consistent challenger in 2021. Lastly from the APAC region, there's the Seoul Dynasty, who revealed that Creative, Fitz and Marvel were all signed for team for next season. I don't think there can be any complaints about these extensions at all, especially with all three playing major roles in the Dynasty's amazing playoff run, besides the veterans of Prophet, Jester and Toby. As long as they can continue to improve and develop from this great performance, I'm excited to see what they can do on Seoul next year, particularly Fitz, who has seemed to develop a really strong playing partnership alongside Profit. To round out this video with some of the other remaining bits and pieces, in terms of player news, both Jaro and Jihoon announced their retirements for mental health reasons. And whilst neither were able to leave a significant mark on the 2020 season, I wish them both the best in their futures and health. Coach Bavane is another that has announced his retirement from professional Overwatch, as he now pursues a coaching career in Valorant. The end of his Overwatch coaching career might not have been the greatest, after an underwhelming year with London, and before that a disappointing final season with New York. However, it would be wrong of us not to recognise the great success he achieved in his earlier time with the Excelsior during the inaugural season, and it's sad to see a coach with experience dating back to the APAC days now leave the scene, but like I say for everyone, I wish him luck in his future exploits. Lastly, I want to add that Ty Dollar has now joined the LA Gladiators as an assistant coach for 2021, whilst Hockery has found a new home himself after leaving the Dynasty, as he's now signed with the Washington Justice as their new personal coach. Just as I'm finishing up this video, it's also been announced that Brenda will be joining the LA Gladiators as their new general manager, seemingly relieving Danteh from his position to allow him to focus on coaching. However, that's all I have for now, I think, although like usual I'll post another off-season news video as soon as more roster or player news hits. So what do you think of these moves? Let me know down in the comments below. If you have enjoyed the video, then please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter or my Discord. Until next time though, I want to say a big thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.